What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Lock and Cash podcast. The referee report for week 15 is here. I'm going to be highlighting two games this week. I gave you guys four games last week. They ended up going 2-2. This week, just two spots that I'm highlighting that I think have pretty nice referee edges, but also coincide with spot, situational edges, matchup edges, all that stuff, because I want to bring you guys the strongest trends I can possibly give you. So let's get right into it. This is going to be a shorter video. The first one is actually your game of the week. We've got the Buffalo Bills taking on the Detroit Lions in Detroit. Buffalo getting 2.5 points. Adrian Hill is the referee for this game. In his career, Adrian Hill's been a strong unders referee. Now, that trend has kind of teetered off a little bit over the last 2 years. But if we look over the last sample size of 5 years, he has 54 and 40 to the under, which is 58%. That's still a strong trend. It was, I think, up until like maybe last year, I think it was right around 60%. So it's dipped a couple of points. And we've seen a resurgence of offense in the NFL this year. So that could be one of the reasons why. But he's historically been a strong unders referee. And this is one of the highest, I think this is the highest total we've seen all season long. So keep that in mind as well. We had a high total last week with the Lions game on Thursday Night Football, ended up going under. So just keep in mind that sometimes when these totals get too crazy in the 50s, it could present an edge for you betting the under. The other thing that I'll say is that this is an edge for Buffalo in this game with Adrian Hill refereeing, and here's why. He has refereed 4 games with the Buffalo Bills in his career. They're 4-0 straight up and against the spread. And a couple of those games, they were underdogs. So this is not a case of them just beating up on inferior teams. So they know him. I think sometimes like sports bettors, if you bet on the NFL or casual sports bettors that don't follow it too closely, you kind of don't realize there are relationships there. If a referee has done 5 Eagles games, he has no doubt talked to the coaches, to the players. He'll know them. So there's something to be said about that as well. And as bettors, the NFL markets are incredibly sharp, incredibly tight. You're looking for any edge you can find. So something as simple as, this guy has been a referee in 4 Buffalo Bills games. They're 4-0 straight up. That is an edge that you can maybe look to play on. So in terms of the matchup, it's interesting because one of the things that the Buffalo has struggled with all season long is false starts. They're 3rd in the NFL in false starts this season on offense. Those penalties have kind of hindered them at times, even though their offense has still been really good overall. But Adrian Hill's crew is just 14th out of 17th this season in calling false starts on offenses. So this is something that maybe won't hurt them as much in this game. On the other side, though, the Lions, their defense has committed a lot of penalties. They're number 1 in the NFL in allowing first downs on defense via penalty, not via an actual play. So this is a problem, and that's been specifically defensive pass interference because we know how good their front is. We know how great they are against the rush. The secondary's been the one spot, and Jordan Love showed that last week where you can kind of exploit them a little bit. So they've allowed a lot of DPI. The Bills, they generate a lot of defensive pass interference with the downfield shots that Josh Allen likes to take. Now, as of late, they've been much more successful running the ball. Maybe that'll be their plan coming into this game because ideally, if it was me, I want to keep that Lions offense on the sideline. So I'm going to probably look to run the ball a lot. But it's worth noting. And Adrian Hill's crew, top 5 in defensive pass interference is called this year. So that could be something that if this is late in the game and the Bills need a big play, watch out for that. It could be a flag thrown on a deep ball or something like that. So defensive pass interference is something to watch out for the Lions. False starts, watch out for that for Buffalo. And a little lean to the under in this game. The game number 2 is your Sunday Night Football game. We're going to talk about the Packers and the Seahawks. Clete Blakeman is the referee for this game. And I hate to say this, but just like every primetime game, it seems like every primetime game we watch, there's just flags all over the place. And unfortunately, the data here says to expect a lot of flags again. Clete Blakeman's crew, number 1 in the NFL this year in just volume, just amount of flags thrown. They've called the most penalties of any crew this season. Seattle, 4th this year in penalties. Green Bay, 9th this year in penalties, just volume. So what I'm saying is when you're watching this game, don't be surprised if that primetime feeling comes back. You're like, man, it's a flag on every play. We just can't enjoy the game. I have a feeling that's what's going to be here. Now, the ones you need to look out for, specifically on the offenses and specifically for Seattle, I'll explain why. But Clete Blakeman's crew, number 1 for illegal formation called and an ineligible man downfield. Those 2 penalties. And it just so happens that that's a problem for Seattle. That's one of their most common penalties. Their offense in general, the Seahawks, is responsible for over 65% of their total team penalties. So their defense has been really good in this 4-game winning streak. They've been dominant. They forced a lot of turnovers. I think they've had 2 pick sixes during that time, 4 total pick. Just been amazing. but the offense has still not caught up. The offense at times has trouble moving the ball and commits a lot of penalties. So watch out for that. Ineligible man downfield, illegal formation. That's a problem. The Green Bay Packers, good. Even though they commit penalties, good for defensive pass interference. And that's going to be key in this game because that is something that Adrian Hill's crew likes to call. I'm sorry, not Adrian Hill. Clete Blakeman's crew likes to call. A lot of defensive pass interference. The Packers have been really, really good on defense in terms of not committing defensive pass interference. So that's very, very important in this matchup. And the last thing I'll leave you with is that the Seahawks have 10 total games with Clete Blakeman as a referee, 4-6 against the spread, 4-6 straight up. Nothing crazy there. But home teams in general have struggled with him, especially against the spread. They're 65, 75, and 3 against the spread. That's 46% if you're a home team with Clete Blakeman as a referee. So nothing crazy this week. There are some other games that have, there's some other referees that have trends this week, which I'll throw some of those up on Twitter. If you guys aren't following us on X, I should say, or Twitter, at Lock and Cash, shoot us a follow over there because any of the residual trends, like the stuff that might just be interesting, I usually post them on there, and you can catch a lot of good info on there that doesn't make it into these videos because I want to keep these like the strongest of the strongest trends and not just fill it up with kind of fluff. But there's other referee trends out there, but I like to include the ones that, number one, agree with the situational spot, agree with my handicap, agree with a lot of other data. Because I really feel like it's the volume, it's the quantity of data that really powers the edge that you have, not just one random stat here. But if you are interested in those random stats, like I am, I love finding little nuggets. Follow us on Twitter for those. All right. So under Buffalo Bills. Lean to Buffalo plus 2.5 and lean to the under based on the referee, and lean to Green Bay minus 2.5 or 3, whatever that line is in the Sunday Night Football game. All right, guys, thanks for watching. So there's just two on the referee report this weekend. Follow us down on Twitter, like I said, and also down in the description, the Action app link. I'm going to be putting up an NFL play on there for free as well. Actually, I think it's up there already. I put it up already. So if you want to grab a free play for the NFL, download the Action app down in the profile, and I'll catch you guys next time. Let's get it.